Okay, Broncos country, looks like we are live, but you guys know the drill by now. We gotta let the stream breathe for a second here and make sure that everything is nice and stable all across the YouTube platform. Welcome in, Broncos country, to this Denver Broncos Syndicate pregame show of your Denver Broncos, currently sitting with a mark of 9-6 versus the Cincinnati Bengals, sitting at 7-8. Just like last week for the Broncos, the stakes are very simple. You win this game, you officially punch your ticket to the playoffs for the first time since the 2015 season. For Cincinnati, just 3 weeks ago, it looked like their season was all but over. They were sitting at 4-8. They ripped off 3 straight wins against bad football teams, the Dallas Cowboys, the Tennessee Titans, and the Cleveland Browns, and now they currently sit with a mark of 7-8. If Cincinnati finds a way to win out in these next 2 games against Denver and Pittsburgh, they've got a very strong chance to punch their ticket to the playoffs, leaving Denver on the outside looking in. The Broncos are looking to avoid that scenario altogether and simply take care of business in this game. All right, look. The Wi-Fi for this stream, so we're going to go ahead and switch back over here to the mobile hotspot because already my internet is giving us problems. We've got Ronnie Thompson in the house saying, yeah, the Denver Broncos got to win today. We got to win today. We got to win next week in order to stick ourselves in the playoffs. Honestly, if you win this week, that's what's going to matter at the end of the day. I'm going to go ahead and refresh real quick, guys, and I'm going to bring myself back in. Just give me like 30 seconds. And just like that, we are back. Sorry about that. Had to switch over to the mobile hotspot so we have a more stable connection for this pregame stream. We have got Devin Fujimoto in the house saying, hi, Gage. Good to see you, Devin. Hopefully you are doing well, my friend. All right, so without further ado, guys, let's go ahead and jump into the meat and potatoes of this pregame show, how the Denver Broncos can look to get a win on the road against Cincinnati. The conditions for this game were initially expected to be pretty unfavorable. There was supposed to be a pretty consistent rainfall throughout the game. Now, it looks like the rain is going to subside and the Broncos aren't going to really have to deal with that. Both quarterbacks, Joe Burrow and Bo Nix, have struggled in their limited sample sizes throwing in the rain. Joe Burrow in week 1 versus the Cleveland Browns in 2023 went 14 for 31 for 80-something yards in that game. He was terrible. He could not function throwing in the rain. And then we saw Bo Nix also struggle to throw in the rain as well. We got Maverick in the house saying, what's up, man? Boner the Stoner in the house, love that name, saying, is this live? Yes, we sure are live. Travis Thompson saying 31-20 Broncos. So the Denver Broncos are definitely going to have their work cut out for them, and I actually think it makes things a little bit easier for the Cincinnati Bengals without this rain. I think that their offense is going to be able to function at a much higher level, meaning that this Broncos defense is going to have to step up. I think that the key to defending Joe Burrow and this Bengals offense is going to be to keep him on the sideline. Go on long sustained drives on offense. Run the ball. Control the tempo of the game. If you win the time of possession battle, then you're probably going to have a really good chance to win this game. That is why the Broncos finally establishing a run game for all 4 quarters is going to be key for this game. If the Broncos cannot find a way to consistently run the football for all 4 quarters, then they are not going to be able to get the job done. We saw them run the football well in the first and the second quarter in the game last week against the Chargers, and then in the third and fourth quarter, it kind of started to taper off. The run game was a little bit less effective there for a couple of plays, and then Sean Payton basically got spooked out of running the ball. Another common Sean Payton criticism here has been his inability to establish a clear-cut running back in the rotation. He keeps trying to rotate in Jaleel McLaughlin. He keeps trying to rotate in Javonte Williams. He tries to rotate in Audric Estime. Last week, they even worked in a little bit of Blake Watson. And, of course, you've got that Marvin Mims package out of the backfield as well. The Broncos were trying to rotate all their backs in the first half, and unfortunately, they could never find anybody who really had the hot hand. It looked like Estime was starting to get there, but Sean Payton kept inserting Javonte Williams and kept inserting not Julian McLaughlin last week, but Blake Watson. Honestly, at this point, if you cannot commit to a legitimate RB1, then you're not going to have a consistent run game. You've got to find a way to have somebody get the lion's share of the carries in this game. And Audric Estime seems to be the guy who would fit that bill. Maverick says, I think we got a shootout here. It's very possible. I had initially leaned towards a lower scoring game because of the rain, but if the rain's not going to be a factor here, then I think that we might lean towards shootout territory. The Broncos are going to have to score points in order to keep up with the Bengals. They are not going to be able to just put up 21 points and win this game. If the Bengals are able to operate their offense at a high level without the rain, then you might have to score 30-plus points if you're going to have a chance to win this game if you're Denver. Travis says, question is, would you rather play the Ravens or the Bills? I know this is a slightly controversial take, but I actually would rather play the Bills. I think that the Broncos have shown previously that they can go into Buffalo and win. They went into Buffalo last year with Russell Wilson and won. Granted, the Bills weren't playing their best football then, but still, I think that you can beat the Bills. The Ravens have just been a juggernaut this year, and they look almost impossible to stop. The Broncos went into Baltimore, and the Ravens put up 41 points on them, and the Broncos could only muster 10 points of their own. I would not want to see this Ravens team in the playoffs. I would rather go to Buffalo. That's why I'm content keeping the 7th seed. Odds are pretty low that you're going to advance up to the 5th seed. I would rather not have to deal with the Baltimore Ravens, so stay with the 7th seed, rest your starters next week if you win this game, and go into Buffalo with a chance knowing that you can beat the Bills. You've done it before. You might have a chance to get an upset here on the road in Buffalo. I don't want to back into the playoffs. If we lose, I'm assuming that says we shouldn't be in the playoffs. I absolutely agree with that statement. If the Broncos can't find a way to win one of their next 2 games, especially next week against most likely the Chiefs backups, then quite frankly, they just don't deserve to be there. They have no business being in the playoffs. So yeah, I 100% agree with that statement, as thank you, camera, for going out of focus. I really appreciate that. We got Ronald Babbitt in the house saying, I really think we got this. We've got Kim in the house saying, it better be worth it with Moss being back. That is something we have to discuss. I'm going to go ahead and try to refocus my camera here for a second, guys. I'm going to look extremely stupid doing it, too. Come on. Come on. Focus on the hand first, and then focus on the face. Damn it. There you go. Stupid thing. So overall, with Riley Moss being back, I do think that Vance Joseph is going to go back to his man coverage roots, be a lot more aggressive on defense. He trusts his guys to win their one-on-one matchups. So I do think that we're going to see the more aggressive man coverage version of this defense that we saw earlier in the year, as opposed to the soft, squishy zone coverage that we had been seeing for the last couple of weeks. So that is good. I think Riley Moss being back out there will definitely impact the defensive game plan for the positive. So yeah, that's going to be huge, but you've got to find a way to generate pressure in this game. The Broncos could not generate pressure last week on Justin Herbert. The Patriots are not generating pressure on Justin Herbert right now, and he's picking them apart. The Broncos have got to find a way to be able to generate pressure on Justin Herbert. The weakness on this Bengals offensive line is on the interior. Zach Allen, John Franklin Myers, DJ Jones, Malcolm Roach, all of those guys are going to have to step up in this game. Nick Bonito might have a favorable one-on-one matchup as well. Excuse me. Swallowed some dust there. Nick Bonito might have a favorable one-on-one matchup as well, because he's probably going to be, in fact, let's go ahead and look at the Bengals inactives here. Okay, no, the Bengals are going to play their starting right tackle, Armarius Mims. Jesus Christ. Sorry about that, guys. Got a frog in my throat. So, Bengals inactives this week: wide receiver Charlie Jones, offensive tackle Andrew Stubert, tight end Tanner Hudson. Fuck. Defensive end Sam Hubbard, and defensive tackle Sheldon Rankins. Sorry, guys. I'm dying. Oh my God, bro. What the hell? Sorry about that, guys. I went into a full-blown coughing fit there. Whew. Jesus Christ. Anyway, guys, let's go ahead and get back on track here. So the Bengals, they do have two starting defensive linemen inactive in Sheldon Rankins and Sam Hubbard. Their backup tight end, Tanner Hudson. What is going on? And yes, that was a quarter in the swear jar. Man, I got something like caught literally right here, dude. That is not good when you talk for a living. Holy crap. Whew, sorry about that, guys. My God. That is hilarious. That is legitimately wow. I am getting over a cold, but man, dude, holy crap. Sorry about that. Broncos inactives. Let's get back on track here. Zach Wilson obviously as the emergency third-string quarterback. David Sills and Matt Henningsen, they were elevated from the practice squad. They are basically just being elevated in order to get a game check, be rewarded for all of their hard work. They're not actually going to play in this game. Blake Watson, also inactive this week. A little bit of a surprise, but with Jaleel McLaughlin being back, a little bit more understandable. Lavelle Bailey, reserve linebacker, he's been on the inactive list for most of the season, along with Frank Crum, backup right tackle, and Ioma Uwazurike. So that rounds out the inactive list for the Denver Broncos. Travis says, must be some good stuff. That wasn't even it, man. Normally, my coughing would be attributed to that, but that time it wasn't even it. What channel is the Broncos game, says Shy? It depends. If you are here in Denver, then it'll be on channel 7. If you are outside of the Denver area, I don't know if that's included in the rest of Colorado, but outside the Denver area, NFL Network. But here locally, it's going to be blacked out on NFL Network. You have to watch it on channel 7. Did you get something in the wrong pipe, says Maverick? No, I just got like a little dust bunny or something in my throat. I have no clue what that was, but it absolutely slaughtered me. So back into the keys to victory for this game. Take command of the run game for all 4 quarters. If you cannot take command of the run game in the third and fourth quarter especially, you're going to have no chance to win this game, and you're not going to be effective in the playoffs. I was hoping we'd see Tyler Bidet this week, but it seems like the Broncos want to ramp him up for another week before they put him back out there. I think he's sort of their plan to fix this run game when we actually get into the playoffs. Set up play action for Bo Nix. Take some of those one-on-one shots when they're there, but more often than not, it's going to be a lot of dump-off opportunities for Bo Nix. We know Bo thrives off of those, so take advantage of those opportunities when they are there. No penalties, especially of the pre-snap variety. If you shoot yourself in the foot and put yourself behind the chains, you are going to have no chance to win this game. So you've got to find a way to stay ahead of the chains. No false starts, no holding penalties. Don't jump off sides on defense. That was a big problem last week. Gave the Chargers multiple free first downs. Cannot have that happen in this game. You've got to have a sense of urgency when you're breaking the huddle. You've got to get the play call in a more timely manner if you're Sean Payton. None of this indecisiveness calling the play. If you have to call the play 2-3 plays ahead of time and basically be ahead of your thinking 3 or 4 plays ahead of time, do it. Because that means that you will actually have a game plan for the next play before you actually call it. That way you're not sitting around looking at your play sheet like, let's go ahead and go, give me this, Bo, let's do this. If Sean Payton wastes 10, 15 seconds doing that crap, then they're not going to have enough time to break the huddle, do whatever motions or shifts you have to do at the line of scrimmage, any dummy cadence, any identification of the linebacker, any identification of where the pressure's coming from. You're not going to have time to do any of that if you don't get the play call in a timely manner. That is on Sean Payton. It was a problem last year with Russell Wilson, and it's been a problem this year with Bo Nix, and it's something that has to get fixed. We already talked about how defensively the hope with Riley Moss back is that you're going to go back to your aggressive man coverage roots. If you play soft, squishy zone coverage against Joe Burrow, he's going to pick you apart. He's going to find the wide open holes in the coverage, and he is going to zing the ball in there, and he is just going to dice you up. Cannot allow that to happen. You've got to give them one-on-one matchups to test. And the Broncos are going to have their work cut out for them. Jamar Chase, T. Higgins, Andre Yosivas, Mike Gesicki at tight end, Chase Brown out of the backfield. All of those guys are going to be there that you're going to have to account for in man coverage on pretty much any given play. I'm a little bit worried about guys like Chase Brown matched up on either Justin Sternad or Cody Barton, as well as Mike Gesicki. Those smell like mismatches for the Denver Broncos. If the Broncos do decide to drop back and play a little bit more zone coverage in this game, I want them to play match zone coverage, where essentially once the guy runs into your zone, it turns into man coverage. Spot drop zone coverage is the other type of zone coverage where you're basically keeping your eye on the quarterback at all times, and you cannot play that type of coverage because you're not able to squeeze into the zones. You're not able to clog up the holes. Joe Burrow is going to pick that apart. The Broncos have had big issues playing spot drop zone coverage this year. They felt like they had to against Lamar Jackson and the Ravens, and he picked them apart through the air. Joe Burrow will do the exact same thing if you play spot drop zone coverage. When you're one-on-one matchups up front at the line of scrimmage, we already talked about John Franklin Myers. We already talked about Zach Allen. This might be a big game for him. DJ Jones, Malcolm Roach. The interior defensive line for this game is going to have to be the X factor for the Denver Broncos. If they can generate pressure up front and get Joe Burrow uncomfortable and on the ground, then they're probably going to find some success. They're going to be able to slow down the overall offensive production of this Bengals team, and they're going to be able to get opportunities for Bo Nix and the offense with short field situations. I think that the Broncos should approach defending Jamar Chase and T. Higgins almost like Bill Belichick would approach two wide receivers. Actually, you put your number one corner on the number two receiver. So in this case, you would have Pat Surtain on T. Higgins for most of the game. And then you would put Riley Moss on Jamar Chase, double teaming him with a safety over the top, most likely Brandon Jones. I think that could be an effective strategy to neutralize both Jamar Chase and T. Higgins, and then you're basically daring Joe Burrow to beat you with Andre Yosivas, Chase Brown out of the backfield, and Mike Gesicki at the tight end position. Those are all guys that are going to have to step up if the Broncos can effectively pull off this strategy to neutralize both Jamar Chase and T. Higgins. We already talked about the spot drop zone coverage. We talked at the top about limiting the time of possession for Cincinnati. That is going to be a big-time factor for this game. You've got to find a way to keep Joe Burrow and company on the sideline, sustain long drives on offense, run the ball, take the play clock all the way down, break the huddle with a sense of urgency. But just because you break the huddle with a sense of urgency doesn't mean you can't take the play clock all the way down to zero. Peyton Manning was a master at that, where they would run a no-huddle offense, but he would wait until the play clock was at 2 to snap the ball. So that is something that we should do in this game. Get Joe Burrow on the ground. If you can get him on the ground, that is going to be your best chance to win this game. Keep him off the field, and when he is on the field, get him on the ground. That's going to be really tough for the Denver Broncos to pull off. I think that they are going to be able to keep this close. I had initially had the score as 24-14. Because of the rain, I thought Denver was going to keep it close for most of the game, and then in the fourth quarter, that was when Cincinnati was going to break away. Now, I think Denver might have an opportunity to stay with Cincinnati because the weather might not be as bad. This might be a more high-scoring affair, so I am going to change my score. I still, unfortunately, am going to predict a Cincinnati Bengals victory. I think Denver is going to have a great opportunity next week against the Chiefs backups to punch their ticket to the playoffs. But this week, against a red-hot Bengals team, it's just going to be tough, man. So I am going to pick the Cincinnati Bengals to win. I'm going to pick them to win 31-27. I think Denver will keep it close. I think they will keep them in. I think they will keep them close, and they will keep them in contention. But I ultimately think that the Bengals are the better team, and Joe Burrow is going to be a guy who assassinates this Broncos team in clutch moments. All right, Broncos country, let me know your prediction for this game. We're going to go ahead and start wrapping up this stream here. We're going to get ready for the actual game stream. Let me know how you think this game is going to go. We already had one score prediction a little bit earlier. It was Travis saying 31-20 Broncos. Let me know your thoughts on the score. Shai says we're not losing. I sure hope so, man. I sure hope so, but I am nervous about this game. We got Maverick saying, give me Bengals, unfortunately, 35-30. Yep, I think a lot of us are kind of on a similar page here. It just feels like this Bengals team is going to be too much of a challenge for this Broncos team to overcome. Last year, this would have basically been the equivalent of the Detroit Lions game. The Broncos would have lied down and died, and they would have not been able to even get into the game early on. I think that in this game, the Broncos will be able to keep it close. They will be able to keep it competitive, but at the end of the day, the Bengals have more playmakers than the Broncos do, and I just think that those playmakers are going to make the big plays when it matters most. Tall and lanky quarterback can be tripped up easily in the backfield, and that is something that can happen with Joe Burrow sometimes. He'll dip his head down, and he'll kind of spin around, and you can drop him in the backfield. He does have quite a bit of self-induced sacks on the year. Not all of his sacks taken are on his offensive line, so that is one way that you can neutralize Joe Burrow. All right, Broncos country, thank you so much for tuning in. I really appreciate it. Before we get out of here, guys, you can just do me a big favor and leave a like on this stream as well as subscribe to the channel. I would really appreciate it, guys. Those are both free and easy ways to show your support. Helps tell YouTube's algorithm to push us out, and it helps us get seen by more and more members of Broncos country just like you and me. We will be going live for about 20 minutes here for the game stream. And until next time, guys, I'm your host, Gage Madrid, saying peace out.